Because Arter Next family, we are igniting the blockchain. Here today as we're winding down our first day of Arter Day celebration. This is the Crypto Woman, otherwise known as Elizabeth, and we are with Tai Zen, popularly known as Tai Zen. Hey, you gotta do something with a guy like you. Wow.
This is Tai Zen, also known as Tai Zen. That's probably like the best introduction ever.
It is so fun to, again, on such a celebration, you know. We met because of NXT, right?
Yeah. So we, you know, it's good. I'm glad to be here, Elizabeth. You know, and we started the NXT journey back in the beginning of 2014.
Yep.
You know, so I'm really happy to be here to help do this broadcast to update everyone. You know, so
that's wonderful. And Tai, you know what? You're popular. You've grown quite a following of YouTubers and your video cast. But I'm humanizing this. So why don't you tell us something we don't know about yourself?
I think that well, one of the things that that people think that when they see us on the channel, myself and leonfu.com, a lot of people don't know some of the things that we did when we first started to become popular and become, like, you know, a popular trading, a cryptocurrency trading investing channel. I think that one of the things that we did was that, let me just move this over here real quick. One of the things that we did that really, that a lot of people don't know is that the NXT community was actually where Leon and I first got our start. You know, outside of, like, we made a few videos about Bitcoin and stuff, but this is where we had our success, was when we started broadcasting about Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies, and we started with the NXT community. I remember that back then, right? Hold on real quick. Back then, are you guys able to hear me on YouTube? I'm doing a two-camera broadcast here, and I see that some people are not hearing me for some reason.
Well, we can pause for you to have a tech moment if you need it.
Are we recording live over here?
Yeah, we're recording live. I'm not going to stop the recording, but we can pause within.
No, it's okay. It's good. It's good. If it doesn't work, we'll just upload yours later. This is just more of a backup than anything else.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah, I remember watching a video of you and Leon in a convertible. I think that might be the first time I was ever exposed to.
Yeah. So what people don't know is that the first, like, cryptocurrency we talked about was Bitcoin, and then the first altcoin that the first altcoin that we ever discussed was the NXT cryptocurrency. And the reason why we chose to talk about the NXT cryptocurrency was that everybody was copying and cloning Bitcoin at that time. Okay, and the NXT back then it was called Nextcoin when we first heard about it. Everybody kept calling it Nextcoin because everything was whatever it was that you were doing plus the word coin behind it. And the creator of Nextcoin back then was a guy named BC Next. Nobody knew who he was. Later on, I think we found out that he is also the same guy as Come From Beyond, who is one of the founders of IOTA right now. Okay, so back then, you know, we were trying to learn about it because we thought it was a very innovative project because it was the first cryptocurrency that we encountered that did not copy Bitcoin. Like, they copy the idea of a blockchain, but it came out with its own unique software code and everything. So that was really, so we decided that, hey, you know what? if we were going to be involved in any project, let's try this new one and learn more about it. So, because there was already enough people broadcasting about Bitcoins and everything. And I would say that that was probably the, if you ask us what we did that was helpful to us, I think what it was that we jumped into the NXT community because we liked the idea that it was new. It was not a copycat of other, just Bitcoin, that it was actually new software, new code. A lot of people today call Ethereum the first Bitcoin 2.0, which was like the second generation blockchain. And I don't believe that they were the first one because NXT did their crowd sale in November of 2013. And then they came out with their code in January 2014. And Ethereum did not do their crowd sale until July of 2014. And they didn't come out with their code way after that. So there's no way that Ethereum can be the Bitcoin 2.0. It was actually NXT that was the first one. And then Ethereum was the second one.
But we were quiet. We weren't known.
Yeah, the mistake, I think that the mistake that NXT made, right? The mistake that NXT made was that first of all, it had me and Bass, one of the other original co-founders of the NXT Foundation, besides me, you, and Bass, and the other guys, right? One of the things that I've always had a gripe about with the NXT community is that they come up with the most difficult names to pronounce and to say for English speakers, right?
I heard you had a problem with our name.
I do. And I said, you know what, and then when they came up with Ardor, I was like, what in the world? This is just like making matters worse. And then when they came up with Ignis, it was like, oh my God, like, come on now. And then Gelorita, I'm like, how do you pronounce these things? You know? I mean,
you know what, Ty? I absolutely love these names. I especially love Ignis because it gives me my intro about igniting the blockchain.
To me, it confuses the hell out of me. And I'm trying to tell people, hey, man, you should check out this Next, or what the hell's Next,
Next, we had an identity crisis with our name, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
No.
Yeah, and then that's
sometimes.
Yeah, and I remember we setting up the NXT Foundation with David from one of the founders of IOTA now, right? David Sustaban. And we were saying, hey, man, we got to do away with this bullshit Next. It's just confusing. So that's when me, you, everyone in the NXT Foundation decided that, hey, let's just move forward and call it just NXT, right? So that there's no confusion about it. And thankfully, it's stuck ever since then. And now it's known as NXT,
I have to confess. When we talk about it as a blockchain, I often still say Next. I do.
Yeah. No.
When I talk about it as a currency, I try to say NXT.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? Bass is going to be very disappointed because now the NXT community can't say that they come up with the most difficult names for a blockchain anymore because now they have Cardano, and man, did they come up with some names.
I can't even pronounce those.
I can't even pronounce what the names that they came up with, I'm talking about these guys must have taken the letters of the alphabet, put it on a dice or something, and just throw it against the wall and then bounce off. And okay, we're going to name it, Ouroboros or
that is one of them, I believe.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, like these guys, and it's the first time in the end of 2017, it's the first time that NXT community has been challenged by another crypto blockchain community on how difficult names they can come up with. But anyway, I wanted to share with, if there's anything that I would share with the community was that if one of the things, a lot of things that I'm going to focus on moving forward in 2018 is that one thing that Leon and I have learned is that, we came from a trading background. Our team came from a professional, we traded stocks, options, Forex, futures long before we got into the cryptocurrency space. So we already had a background in trading, and you remember that from way back then. I always talked about trading and stuff. But moving forward in 2018, I think that we are going to focus more on sharing some of the things that we did to become successful, to become financially successful and successful in blockchains. Like, that we became financially successful to where we don't have to go to a 9-to-5 job, the rest of this lifetime. I don't foresee worrying about money anymore. I would focus on, I plan on focusing on helping our audience do some of the things that we did, that for the people that are non-traders and non-investors, that I'm going to share with them what we did with the NXT community that I believe can be replicated. You know, basically.
So you're like the Robert Kawasaki of the blockchain investment, right?
Man, I like that. I'll take that.
Why not? We need somebody to be a thought leader in things like this, because there's a lot of people who are coming into a lot more wealth than they ever expected. Maybe we talk about mooning all the time, but all of a sudden it happens. And what are people going to do?
So this is my test. This is my test for in 2018, and I've already started this experiment. I'm going to bring on a handful of broadcasters, right, onto our channel, right? And they all agreed. Yeah, they all agreed to come on without pay or anything. Okay. They all agreed to come on, right? Because I told them that I would share with them what I did to get to where I'm at today, right? So, and really, a lot of people think that, you know, that you have to be a professional trader to do this, right? But you actually don't. Like, you can actually go out there and volunteer and help the cryptocurrency projects like you and I did. Like you were not a trader and you became financially successful.
You inspired me. When I pulled back a little bit from the conversation, I couldn't pull back from crypto. So of course I learned trading.
Yeah, so there you go, right? But even if you did not do any trading yourself, just the things that you've done for the NXT community and the blockchain space has led you to where you're at today.
Yeah, well, I think that's important to remember, that there are projects behind this wealth creation system that are important and that are valuable, and you know what, Lee, Todd, my thoughts are going somewhere, and I haven't expressed this too much publicly, but I'm going to now when you talk about adding value, because you were around when I made the decision to reveal who I was to the world. We all 3 or 4 did at the same time, almost, on a YouTube channel. Maybe Dave Pierce was there too, because we thought people needed to know who we are. That was a scary thing to me as a woman back then.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad that you brought that up, because people always say, hey, they feel like it's too late to get into the cryptocurrency space. And I said, no, it's not. This is like the best time ever to get into the blockchain crypto space, because I'm so glad that you brought this up, because I'm going to tell some of my, the female broadcasters we have, right? They have no idea that they're coming onto our channel and starting to broadcast freely and not worry about anything. I remember back when you started, you were concerned that if you were public, what if somebody comes and, you know, like, it was really scary. Like, a lot of people did not want to become public. Right?
It was. And we made a decision then that if we were going to represent the blockchain, the fundamentals behind this to the business world, that we needed to have faces, that we needed to be approachable, that we needed to be able to articulate and speak this. But to further explain that position about value and being a woman, there's a lot of movement right now about people claiming we need more women in cryptocurrency.
I've been telling people all this, and I'm going to send a shout out to our new broadcasters, Regan from San Diego and JB Trader from Los Angeles. I shared this with them, and they're like, dude, we're not going to be one of those girls that, you know, hear you say this and then not go do it. And boom, they jumped on it and started making videos. So I said, go ahead.
Awesome, because that was my next point, is that they need to add value. You can't just say, we need more women and pull them in. I think the NXT community has been awesome in their reception of me and their respect to me, which is probably why I'm still around, right? Because I left some of those other communities. But you have to add value, whether you're a man or you're a woman. You have to add value if you're going to be part of the space.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like all the trolls and you guys out there listening, to me, I know you guys are, okay? You know, if you guys are trolling me, right, instead of spending the time trolling me and extracting value out of me and the community, go create some value.
Yes.
Instead of writing all that crap that you guys write on my Twitter or on my comments on my YouTube channel, go out there and create value and write about the projects that you like about, because you will get financially rewarded for that instead of wasting your time, you know, trolling people.
It's more than financial reward. I mean, look at this awesome opportunity that we have to be part of a movement, a technology movement that's bigger than we are, that we
This
all
will not
have to
happen again. This will not happen again. This bull market will not happen. A revolutionary technology like this probably will not happen again in my lifetime and your lifetime.
or our grandchildren's lifetimes.
Yes. Like this is, I tell all my friends and people around me that this is the biggest financial technology that has ever been created in human history, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The blockchain technology. And I am grateful that you know what, how about this? How about this? Why don't we do this, right? Instead of just talking, like, why don't we share the lessons that we learned from the NXT community? Why don't we do that other people can take from it, whether it's a crypto project, a new crypto project, or it's new people coming into the blockchain space that want to know, how do we get involved? How do we benefit from this? How can we get involved in the blockchain space? Let's just share that. Because I think that what you did and what I did was extremely valuable, that it goes unnoticed. And a lot of people are not aware of what we did, right?
Yes. And then that's a theme that's coming out as I'm doing these interviews and pre-interviews with people, is that there is a lot of work that's gone on unnoticed.
Yeah, so here's what you guys need to know, okay? So when the NXT community first started, there was a 21 Bitcoin crowd sale. Just quick history, a guy named BC Next posted on the forums. He said, I'm gonna do an ICO. Back then it was not called an ICO, it was just a crowd sale. And you know, he raised like 21 Bitcoins. Back then it was like $1,000 a Bitcoin or something like that. So it's $21,000 to launch the NXT project. And he just wanted to prove that this can be done, build a new blockchain 2.0 system that was better than Bitcoin. And he did. And now that $21,000 network or valuation has grown to over $2 billion or something like that. Right? Last I checked. Right? So this is one of the biggest, best performing, best growing blockchain projects in the history of blockchains. And the reason why it did not get a lot of attention and notice was because this guy, BC Next, would not reveal himself to become public. And I don't think till this day he still has not revealed himself publicly. We know who he is, but we don't know what he looks like physically or anything like that, right? And
I've heard that picture that went around with him, with his daughter on it was at the Baltic Ocean on the seashore, was actually him. But then again, that's probably just rumor too, right?
Okay, so what I'm saying is, so what happened was, after that, the project was existent, and there's this developer out there building this project, but there was not a lot of people helping out to promote the project and to bring awareness to the project. So what Elizabeth, myself, Bass, Whistling, right?
Yes.
David Sustaman, the founder of IOTA, Max Cordet, the founder of Lisk, and Evil Dave. Evil Dave, and then there was another one, Ian.
Yeah, Chancellor.
In, right? And then there was one more, Data. So the 8 of us, Data, right? The 8 of us came together and said, hey, there's got to be a way for us to help bring awareness to the NXT project. So we all agreed to come up with, I think it was me and David and Bass, who originally had the idea to set up the foundation. And then we brought you in within very shortly after that. And then Max came on and the other guys came on, and we all decided to create the NXT Foundation to help educate the public about NXT, right? Now, during that setup, right, I'm gonna pause right there on the history a little bit and share with everybody the quick lesson that I believe that everyone should learn, is that if you wanna soar like an eagle, you cannot hang around a bunch of turkeys. You cannot surround yourself with a bunch of turkeys. And right there, I knew that I wanted to be a part of this group of people that were just random strangers from all over the world, because I hate to say this, and I don't mean to be offensive, okay? But these people had the guts, the courage, and the balls to come together and work on a project that everybody else said they were crazy. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we have one of the most successful YouTube channels. You know, we run the www.cryptocurrency.market website. You know, that would be like owning stock.market or bitcoin.com, you know, so we have a very successful site there. Max went off and started the Lisk project. He's the founder of Lisk. It's like $1 billion project. David went off and started the IOTA project. That's like a multi-billion-dollar project. And then, so all these people came together. And the lesson here is that if you want to soar like eagles, you cannot hang around a bunch of turkeys. And I believe that you, Bass, David, Max, Data, Ian, all these guys that helped to start the NXT Foundation were all guys and people that were willing to step out of the bounds of convention, outside the box, and do something different, right? And willing to take the risk and the criticism and everything like that. And that's what I believe is the lesson that people should learn, is that don't be afraid to take the risk of when you see something, a new technology, a new project, a new business, do not be afraid, right? Don't wait for someone else to give you permission to go participate in it. Go and do it. Just like you didn't ask for permission to go do that. David didn't ask permission to go do that. And so I think that was extremely valuable lesson that people should know, is that I like to surround myself with the risk takers and the people that don't have to wait for permission to go do something.
I was just going to say, I think of the 8 of us, and I don't think any of us were the people who wait for permission. I think we're all the type who just grab it and go. And
yeah,
that's a philosophy of life.
Yeah, and so that's the second lesson that's coming up here with the folks that help the NXT community early on, is that Max, when you remember when we were setting up the NXT Foundation, we had Skype meetings about that. Yeah. And one day, Max and David decided they were going to go start off their own foundation, which they call the NXT organization, right? Which kind of surprised all of us, right?
Yeah.
And so at that time, none of us were happy about it, because it's the NXT, the people that were setting up the NXT Foundation split in half, and they went on and started the NXT organization with Max and David, right? But looking back, none of us were the type of people that were going to wait for others' permission to go do something. Right. So I am glad, right? The lesson here is that, you shouldn't have to wait for permission. If you want to do something, go and do it, right? So they went and started their own, and, obviously, fast forward, that didn't work out. So both of them went on, did other things. And now one of them is the founder of LISC and the other one's the founder of IOTA, right? So the lesson here to learn here is that don't wait for permission. Don't wait for approval. Don't wait for authorization. If you have an idea in your mind that can work in the blockchain space, go and do it. Don't wait, And
I think we can speak further about what happened with David and Max, is that they didn't try to force themselves hard. I mean, we had conversations, but when they realized that it wasn't going to work for them the way that they wanted to, they did go and do their own thing. And in the way our community was set up, the starfish, that was fine. I mean, even though some of us disagreed with that decision on their part, we missed them when they went. It was fine that they went,
Yeah. And the thing that I think that was really helpful is that everybody went their separate ways, but there was nobody, I don't think that there was anybody knocking on the other person for what they wanted to do. And I think that that's important. Like, we can have disagreements, but like when you went off and did your own thing, I went off and did my own thing. David, Max, Evil Dave, everybody went off. Did I mention Evil Dave?
You did mention Evil Dave.
Okay, I don't want to leave him.
You need to keep mentioning him. Unfortunately, he can't join in the celebration. He's with his family on holiday, but he's one of those silent guys that's still there in the background.
Hey.
And doing his thing.
It's a matter of priorities.
Yeah.
For me, it's a matter of priorities. Hey, I'm here. I'm just kidding.
Well, there's a lot of people on holiday, and I'm a big family person, so I'm all for that too. So we'll catch him another time.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's the other lesson. And so moving forward, right? So here's the thing, right? You got to create trust in the community, in the blockchain community. And if you remember, I received a donation of 500,000 NXT.
Which was a lot of money.
Yeah, which was a lot of money back then, and still a lot of money today. I received a 500,000 donation. And if you remember, if you remember, one of the things that I did to maintain my reputation and my trust with you and everyone else because if you remember, after we set up the NXT Foundation, my father-in-law had open heart surgery that just ate up all my time.
Oh,
it just, yeah, it had me stressed out. So finally, I just said, hey, man, guys, I got to back away from the foundation. I can't do this anymore, you know? And before I backed away, when we first started the NXT Foundation, I had promised that I would be the first one to seed the foundation with a donation, and I would take the 500,000 NXT tokens that was donated to me, and I was going to donate it to the foundation to help the foundation get started. So when I backed away from the foundation, right, when Bass and Evil Dave asked me, hey, are you still going to transfer the 500,000 tokens to the foundation? And I said yes, and I did, which I did transfer it to the foundation, and it helped them get started and everything, right? And the lesson there is that at that time, I had a choice. I could either keep it because it was donated to me personally. It was not donated to when the NXT Wales donated to me for making all the tutorials and the videos for the NXT community, right? I could have easily said that, no, I'm going to keep it because I am not working in the foundation anymore. I could easily say that and no one can say anything,
right?
You know, because it's my tokens that was donated to me for my efforts. But I think that when I had to make that decision, either keep this 500,000 NXT tokens or donate it to the NXT Foundation, like I had promised, right? Mm-hmm. And remember, that was just a verbal promise. It was not like in writing or anything. It was just like on a Skype conversation.
I remember the conversation, and apparently Dave and Bass did too. But I also remember when you gave it back.
Yeah.
That was, that pegged you up. That gave you integrity points.
Yeah, exactly. I knew that there was going to be a time in the future that I did not want to burn my bridges, because I could have easily come back in the future 3, 4, 5 years later into the NXT community and say that, hey, yeah, I want to help out again. But I felt that I'm going to make an investment into my reputation. And so I transferred it to the foundation just like I had promised, even though I was no longer part of the foundation.
And that's one of the things that I think I learned about or from NXT is reputation.
Yeah.
I think I had it, I had a knowledge of reputation and character and how important that was. But when you actually start walking back then in the wild west of crypto, where you're walking a gray line and
yeah.
you're looking at you.
That guy? Do you remember that guy, John, that worked with us?
I know. I still have his number on my cell phone. Sometimes I think about calling up and say, hey.
Yeah, we set it up to raise NXT tokens for him to go do a marketing thing. And he went over to Europe, did it, and then he stole all of it, right? And then he took off, and we never heard from him. Yeah. And to this day, if somebody asked me if to do business with him, I would say no. And he claimed that, his computer got hacked at the conference and somebody stole all the NXTs that was put in his possession, right? And the reason why I don't trust him is because if you remember, I offered, I contacted a computer forensics lab that was well known that did forensics for the FBI and the law enforcement and everything in the state of Texas. And I said, hey, look, they're going to contact you. They're going to send you a FedEx and they're going to send you a chain of custody. And I need you to send your laptop to this place and let them do forensics on it and verify that you indeed got hacked and that you didn't steal the community's NXT tokens that was entrusted in your possession. And he never called back.
Right.
So
he disappeared.
Yeah. So for the rest of his life in the blockchain space, it's going to ruin his career. Or if anybody comes and asks you or me or anybody else, hey, what is this guy's reputation when he was working with you guys? I have to tell him the truth. Mm-hmm. That this is what happened. He was entrusted with a large amount of NXT tokens, and he said he got hacked, and we wanted to verify that, and he wouldn't let us verify.
Right, and that's the kind of gray activity. And Ty, that brings me to the place where I'll still say this. I think it's really, really, really important for the public to see that we are real people with real credentials, with real skills, and that we have a lot to offer. We can articulate what blockchain means to us. We can think use cases. We're ready to play in this arena, Yeah.
And I think that if you find, for the listeners out there and the viewers out there, if you guys find a project that you really like and you get behind it and you help make videos, you help make tutorials, you help educate the public, do meetups, set up conferences, set up meetups, you are going to get noticed. That project is, we have $4 billion that came into the blockchain space this year in 2017. And there's not enough talent. There's not enough engineers. There's not enough administrators. There's not enough business people. There's not enough marketers. There's not enough promoters. There's not enough content creators. There's not enough tutorial people to make tutorials about the project. If you just come in, and I'm going to prove this. I'm going to prove this on my channel. I took a handful of people that don't know anything about blockchains. We're going to educate them about blockchains. They're going to share it. They're going to learn it. And I'm going to guide them to becoming financially successful on our channel. And you watch. I'm going to do this in 2018 to prove to everyone that there is so much opportunity in the blockchain space, right? That there's no reason why someone should be unemployed, someone should be struggling, or somebody should be doing something that's not something that they want to do in their life, right?
Yeah, and I think mentorship in this area is desperately needed. And so
yeah.
You.
So we looked out on our team. We said, hey, you know, we can just let go of this channel and just forget about everything and just ride off into the sunset. But I said, hey, man, this channel is what got us to where we're at today. And if we can use this channel to help somebody else get to where we're at today, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Right? So we got an exciting year coming up. You know what? I might have some of these broadcasters that we bring onto our channel, even talk about NXT, just for old time's sake.
Oh, not just for old time's sake. NXT is an awesome, stable, proof of stake concept.
Yeah.
And what about Arter? You know, I actually think that there is room in our blockchain community of NXT and Arter to assimilate more talent.
Yeah, I'll send them your way. I'll send them your way, and you can work with them.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because,
jump in and start.
Yeah, so find a project, guys. I would say find a project that you guys like. The reason that I think myself, Elizabeth, and all the other people that started with the NXT project was because we saw something that was different. Mm-hmm. It was not just another clone or a copycat of Bitcoin. NXT was just something different. And now keep in mind that one thing that I do like about the NXT project, even till today, is that as it's moving forward, right? And, full disclosure too, guys. Obviously, I've been in the NXT project since the beginning, so obviously I own NXT tokens. So full disclosure, and so does Elizabeth. Okay, so
given. That's a given.
Yeah, that's a given, guys. Okay, so there's going to be a bias here with me. There's going to be a bias with Elizabeth. You know, both of us started the NXT Foundation, so please be aware that there is extreme bias here for the project. Okay. Yes. One thing I like about the NXT project is that it has evolved, and that's the one thing that I like, is that the people that have come in that helped started it in the beginning, like you and I did, right? We've moved on. Other people have replaced us, and then we've come back. Other people have come in front. So it's like evolving, and the technology has started when BC Next came out with the NXT project, right? He thought that was the best thing at that time. Mm-hmm. But then when other developers came on, you know, they realized that, hey, in order for it to scale to a larger, to be able to allow all these bigger, faster transactions and everything, right? More transactions, we're gonna have to create a different platform called Arter, mm-hmm. right? You have no idea how hard it is for an Asian person to say Arter with all those R's in there.
I am so sorry. I love that word.
All right? It was me, right? I would not have said Arter because there's a billion Chinese out there, and they're not going to be able to say the word.
I don't know if we have
many R's in it correctly.
You know, I communicate a lot with some of the Chinese community, and they don't call it Arter. They call it Duo or something like that.
They call it what?
Duo for the Duo blockchain. Duo, something like that. And I've seen the Japanese rendition too. I don't know how to pronounce it, but they have another name for it too. So well, anyways, I'm glad to see that the NXT blockchain has evolved into the Arter blockchain. And in case you guys don't know, the Arter blockchain is designed so that it's like one mother chain with a bunch of child chains around it. And then that child chain, the first one that they're going to build is called Ignis, right? Another difficult name, right? Ignis, right? Yeah.
So, okay, you guys already know what my beef is with all the naming conventions in the NXT community, right? If I have any beef about the NXT community, it's the way they create new names. And I know Bass it tickles in the death every time, I go off on this rant about the names in the NXT.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ignis is a child chain, so that in the future, what the NXT community realized was that in the future, when businesses build their technology on top of the platform, they may not have the technical and the engineering skills and all that to build out what they need. So, and the security is a huge issue for all blockchains. So they decided to build the Arbor platform to where they will handle the security and the clearing and the settlement. And then any business that wants to build their separate blockchain on top of it can do it, with a child chain, and then it will be processed through the mother chain known as the Arbor. I guess
One exciting thing about the child chains is that, especially Ignis, is fully equipped with all of the tried and true features of the NXT blockchain, and those are coming over to Ignis. And future child chains can choose among those features that are already there. They're already developed. You don't have to develop them. If you want to, you can tweak them, hire developers, whatever. But I think the cool thing is with the ICO that Jellarita has raised so much capital, so much funding, that they are going to port back and continue to develop the NXT platform or the blockchain, because it is a very successful blockchain. And
yeah, and I think that it's. I'm glad that you brought up about what's going to happen or the status of the NXT platform once Arbor is running live. Because right now, for anyone that's new, Arbor is simply a token on top of the NXT platform right now. It's not until January, I think it is, early 2018, before Arbor becomes its own separate blockchain. Mm-hmm. Right?
We're on the countdown. That's going to happen, I think, January 1st. It's 0 hours UTC.
Okay. So my understanding was that, I think that myself and many others in the NXT community and the token holders were concerned that, once the Arbor platform comes live, and then the Ignis is one of the first child chains on top of Arbor, that the guys that are building Arbor, Jellarita is the company that's building all this stuff, that they would just abandon the NXT platform. But the good news is that when I talked to Lior Yaf, right, one of the main developers for the NXT Arbor Ignis platform, he said that they are going to continue development, just like you said,
right,
on the NXT platform, because there's things on there that works better on the NXT platform than it does on the Arbor platform. Right. So it depends on what your business requirement is, will determine which platform that you use. And I like that. And he said that one thing else, there's this term called crypto dividends that was invented by my colleague, Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister. Mm-hmm. He calls these, anytime you have a cryptocurrency where, we call it baby Bitcoins, but he calls it, or baby cryptos, and he calls it dividends, right? So anytime that you have a blockchain that produces, child blockchains off of it, and you get to receive the tokens off of it, he calls it a crypto dividend. We call it, baby Bitcoins or baby cryptos, right? But
go ahead.
I believe that what's going to be valuable is that the NXT blockchain, anytime someone wants to build do a blockchain project and create tokens on top of it, they have to, my understanding is that they have to distribute 10% of their, because it's an open source platform, and in order to use it, you have to distribute 10% of your tokens to every NXT holder. So I expect that that's going to produce more, crypto babies or baby cryptos or crypto dividends, right, for those NXT holders moving forward into the future.
Yes, it's going to help NXT become a little bit more valuable.
Yeah. So that's the thing that I would share, So the other thing too is that the other lesson that I would have to share with the audience and the viewers, Elizabeth, right, is that during the time that you put in to help a project, if you have the mindset of providing value to the project, somewhere along the line, value will come back to you.
I think that's a universal law, isn't it?
I believe in this. I believe that if you give, 100 units, 10 units of value, somewhere along the line, you'll get 1 unit of value back.
Or more.
That's what I believe. You know what I'm saying? So at that time, when I put all that time in, we made a ton of videos on YouTube about NXT. We made tutorials, we made security tutorials, all kinds of stuff. And we interviewed a bunch of people about NXT, right, to educate the public about it. Mm-hmm. And if you look at back, it seemed like I put in a lot of time and effort in it. My wife used to always ask me, why are you always talking about this NXT project and stuff, and Bitcoins also. But now, right, right now, it's like one of the best projects I ever got involved in.
That's awesome.
And as far as community, and I'm really happy to hear that you're doing well for yourself. I'm really happy that, Bass is doing well for himself. So is Evil Data. If there's ever a chance, since most, these guys are in Europe, we might even have a reunion in Europe somewhere. Right?
I think I'm coming to Texas for the conference this year.
Yeah. So that's there's a lot of things there, we can drag Max from Lisk and David from and come from beyond from IOTA too, maybe.
Well, that would be a reunion.
Yeah.
Go back that far. That would speak volumes.
Yeah.
To our philosophy that we can work together and move on.
Yeah.
That reunion.
So that's those are the things, and I think that. Could you share some of the things that you see on the roadmap for NXT coming up in the future, since you have more closer updates about them?
Some exciting things are happening on the NXT blockchain really soon. A company in Austria called A-Trust that works with the digital ID for the Austrian government has released a press release that said that they are going to be using the NXT blockchain for this digital ID system. So that's coming up new on the NXT blockchain. I do know of a couple other that I'm not sure of all the details yet, so I'm not gonna.
Okay, cool deal.
And that's not hype, because I don't really believe in hype, but I do believe in facts, Yeah. I want to make sure.
Hey, for the people that's watching this, right? What is your role moving forward in the NXT community and the Ardor community?
Well, it's interesting. I want to tell just a little bit of my personal story here, because I share this completely with people. So somewhere in the middle there, I started, I'm staying up all night. I'm running the marketing and web development business and a few other entrepreneurial things. And I am staying up all night to talk to people in Europe about this cryptocurrency. And I realized I couldn't keep it all going. I'm running websites. I'm doing social media accounts for NXT. And I just couldn't keep it all going anymore. So I had to make a decision to keep my business, which was my bread and butter then, to pull back a little bit from the conversation. That's when I went into learning trading, kept my eye on it, but I had to give up the accounts, the Twitter accounts, the Facebook accounts, and things like that. Interestingly, I was starting to take my website and web development back end especially towards the idea of blockchain, because to be honest with you, manufacturing was getting pretty boring. And I'm like, this is where my interest still is. I just can't shake it. So I'm starting to veer this way. I'm starting to have business meetings with people about blockchain development and see where this goes. And all of a sudden, this AMG, Ardor Next Group, needs a director. So here I am now, instead of pulling back from crypto to work my business, I am currently in the middle of wrapping up the dissolution of my business. I'm dissolving it so that I can be the full-time director of the Ardor Next Group. And
hey, I'm really, really happy to hear that. If anybody that deserves to do this full-time and enjoy it, it would be you. Because I know that when we first started, I know you had a lot of reservations about coming, public, and, your concerns about privacy and everything. And I appreciate the fact that you took the risk back then, to help us do some of the things that we did to get the NXT community going and get it started. And I look forward to, helping out wherever we can, with our channel, and help out the NXT community and continue to do that. Because
talk to me anytime.
That's one of the first projects. that was one of the first crypto communities that I got involved in that did not troll me or did not, that embrace what I was doing. Yeah. When I had no clue about what blockchains were or anything, So.
I keep wanting to call it the Arternext group because that's it. But what spills out sometimes is the Arternext family. Because that's what it feels like. We spend so much time together, right?
Yeah. Hey, so speaking of the Arternext group, I would call it the Arter NXT group, but hey, that's just words, right? Talk about, so what happens to the NXT Foundation now, the one that we started back in 2014, and what's going to happen to that? And what is this NXT group, Arter group that you're going to be directing?
It is evolving. The NXT Foundation, the way we know it, will no longer exist the way we know it. How that's all going to look for sure in the end will depend on some legal things, and how it all works out we'll have to see. But the acting working entity is going to be the Arter NXT group, and we have a pretty broad vision right now, but I see my position as facilitating growth and communication between businesses and developers, also the investors. I feel like the people who invest in the community, both with their funding and in the community in terms of just involvement and contribution, also need to be represented, and that it will be education and resources and conferences and speakers and meetups, and my brain's just churning. If you have any ideas, let me know, because that's the broad scope of it all, and there's a lot of little details that need to be worked out yet, and I am open to suggestions from you and anybody really, because I want to do this job with as much fun and also with as much intention as I possibly can.
So let me do this. We have people that's on our channel here that's live. Would you be available to take some questions, or do you have some questions from the audience that we can answer?
I'm not following the feed because I have a hard time talking and reading at the same time.
Okay.
You ask me a question and I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. Okay, if you guys have any questions for me or for Elizabeth, then I will let me know and we'll answer them for you. Right?
And Ty, you are awesome at what you do, because the interviewer has become the interviewee, like that. Good job. We'll let you wrap it up and close it.
Well, blockchain and cryptos from I think it's from Colombia. Welcome, right? Nicasio Serrano asked, after the airdrop, the Ignis airdrop, what happens to the NXT?
NXT continues. You keep your NXT. It continues to stay in your wallet on the exchanges. If you have it, it stays intact. The only thing that will happen is you will no longer see your Ignis or your Delarita tokens in your NXT wallet anymore. They will appear on the Ignis, or they will appear as Ignis on the Arter main chain at launch, and then they will appear in the new client, the new software that you will download sometime between now and then. It will be released from Delarita.
Okay, so basically the NXT platform keeps running the way it does, except the Arter tokens will no longer show up in the NXT wallet. It'll be on a separate blockchain in a separate Arter wallet.
Yep, and the Ignis tokens, if you have them as well, will appear there.
Okay, so that's a good. Okay, so that brings up a point that I want to ask you, right? Is that right now there's a snapshot period where they are taking snapshots or photos, basically a photo of the entire blockchain, the NXT blockchain, so that they can airdrop, one Ignis token for every 2 NXT tokens, correct?
You got the second part of the numbers right, the ratio, but it was only one blockchain, or one block snapshot. It wasn't several. It was one snapshot at block 1636363.
Okay, so Okay, so that snapshot of that one block, wherever all the NXT tokens are at, those are the ones that are going to get credited.
Yep, and that was taken this morning.
Okay, and that was taken this morning already, so it's done. Okay, okay, all right. So let me see here. Antoine asked, can you explain the eventual 10% from the new ICO on NXT chain reverse to NXT holders? What's the math for it? Is it worth it to keep NXT and switch to Ardor? Thanks for your show.
Well, I don't like to give trading or investment advice. That's up to you.
Yeah, neither one of us are licensed financial advisors in the U.S., so we cannot tell people when to buy, sell, or hold.
Exactly.
Right?
And so, but I will say that there are many people who believe that it is valuable to keep your next in your wallet for that reason, because basically, and it's, I don't believe it's just with the Ardor child chains, it's also going to be with anything created with the NXT block creation kit. Any project now that's created on one of these platforms or these projects is going to distribute at their Genesis block automatically 10% of all of the tokens. Now, some of those probably won't be worth much to you if it's a private use blockchain for a company, but some that become publicly traded could be very valuable to you. And you know, we are going to have a peg euro child chain coming out here in just a few days after the launch, probably very soon after launch. And that was just announced by one of our community members, Martis. And he's, you know, so it's a peg euro child chain. So the potential for growing is significant there, I believe.
Okay, okay. So let me see. Jorge believes that BC Next is Satoshi Nakamoto. He created Bitcoin and then he found out how to solve security, replacing proof of work with proof of stake. So he created NXT and disappeared again. Okay, well, there's a lot of people that's not the first time that idea has come up, you know. So, but that's all the questions I have from our audience, you know.
You know what's exciting is these myths.
Yeah.
These myths that have grown up in our culture. Those are our cultural myths, you know.
Yeah.
Satoshi is definitely one of the more obscure myths, because there's a lot of people who do believe that BC Next has now truly revealed himself as come from beyond, and that's cool. I mean, the way he structured it all is he's not necessary to the project, and so that's
I can't wait for all the conspiracy theories that come out, you know, 5 years, 10 years down the line, you know, about Satoshi Nakamoto, you know, so.
Oh, there's already a few going around there, but this is about Next and Ardor, so we won't go there, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's all the questions we have on our side, Elizabeth.
Super, super. And you've been valuable. This conversation, I think, has been valuable to give some insight to the public about a little bit of our history, a little bit of our background, and a little bit of that fire, or that ardor passion, or that ignis fire that kept a lot of us going through this project as we were dedicated to the bigger picture.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, thanks for having me on.
And thank you. I will stay in touch with you, because your project sounds very interesting, and I wish you the best as you become a thought leader in.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth.
All right. Talk to you another time.
Okay, so this will conclude the broadcast, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.